Hey there, everybody. I hope you've had a great week. Here is your short Vort for Parshat Shoftim. In this Parsha, there is a mitzvah that we encounter of selecting a king for the Jewish people. Once we enter the land of Israel and we ask V'amarta, and we say to God or maybe a prophet, Asima alai melech, place upon us a king, kichol hagoyim asher svidotai, like all the nations around us who have kings. So som tasim alecha melech. So make for yourselves a king who God chooses. Asher yivchar Hashem elkecha bo. And then when this actually plays out later in Jewish history, in Shmuel Aleph chapter 8, the people come to the prophet Shmuel and they say to Shmuel, you got old, Shmuel, you're towards the end of your life, you're end of your career, your children didn't follow in your path. We need a king. Sima lanu melech l'shoftenu kechol hagoyim. Almost the same words. Place upon us a king to rule over us, to judge us, like the other nations. And this was immediately met with disdain from Shmuel. He was very upset by this ask. And more surprisingly, God says, Shmuel, you're insulted? Yeah, maybe they called you old. They're not rejecting you though. You know who they're rejecting with this request? Ki oti ma'asumim lo chaleim. They are rejecting me from ruling over them, from being the king over them, says God. And this is shocking because in God's Torah it says when you ask for a king, you can get a king. God will pick who it is, but you can get a king. And now, push comes to shove, they ask for a king, and God says, I'm offended. They're rejecting me. Huh? I mean, God knows what's written in the Torah. Why would he say it's okay if he's not okay with it? And so obviously it's okay to ask for a king. What happened here was, though, and you can see this towards the end of chapter 8, if you look and say for Shmuel Aleph, the kavanah, the intention of this ask, emerges. You see, it wasn't no problem with having a governmental system. You want to have organization and in a way that things function more efficiently. Great. Maybe you even need the king to help in terms of spiritual life, right? There's a mitzvah of Hakel, we'll read towards the end of the Torah. The king is supposed to read the Torah every 7 years on Chol HaMoed Sukkot for the people, right? It's okay. Maybe the king is supposed to function as a spiritual conduit who helps enhance spirituality, enhance the connection between the people and God. What happened here was, and you see it here in their words, they say to Shmuel, we want to be like the other nations with this king. Ushvatanu malkeinu, this king will rule over, will judge us. He's going to go out in front of us and he's going to fight our wars. And wait a minute. That sounds like a description of God. God's supposed to fight our wars. Right? Hashem, is supposed, we say this every week actually in the tefillah for the soldiers of the IDF, right? That God should, go out and fight your wars and help you and help you succeed. And what's clearly happening here is that the people of Israel have questions, have doubts about God and relating to God and experiencing God in any kind of way that they can, that it helps them enhance their connection spiritually to Him. And the moment they have doubts, almost like what happened at the golden calf, they're like, where's God? How do we relate? They make a calf over there. Here they say, give us a king. God is too complicated. Just give us a king. It's almost like they're throwing in the towel on their relationship. The king will do it for us. He will be the complete stand-in for God. What we can learn, God ultimately gives them a king. They're struggling and he's upset that they are somewhat giving up on trying to have a relationship with God as individuals and as a people. And saying, no, we're just going to outsource it to a king. Look, we all have sometimes doubts and questions and we have spiritual challenges. But what we can learn from this incident is not to give up. Is to keep trying our best to have faith. Not to feel like if we have questions that we have failed at religion, we have failed as a Jew, we're not good Jews. You can be a good Jew and still struggle with spirituality. You can be a good Jew and still struggle with how to relate to God. But the one thing we can't do is give up on that relationship with God, that there's no hope, that there is nothing that we can gain from it, and just put somebody else in charge and let them be my spirit. They'll take care of the spiritual stuff. We all have a responsibility to try to have a relationship with God. And through all of our struggles that we may have with that, let's never give up. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. See you in Shul.